Welcome back to Money Talks. Mike Lomas. This is where money meets politics. If you need us throughout the week, folks, if you think like us, you want to interview our financial planning team, 633-1515. It's a free consultation. In studio with us, Alan Spencer, Rich Grimm, with McGavran and Grimm law firm. So we're going to switch gears here a little bit. Where do we want to start? You're the estate planning expert. Rich, he helps with a lot of different things. I only know that because I have actually tried to rip you up in 50 different ways to use you personally. So
all kinds of civil litigation. So
yeah, it's a lot. You know, let me ask you this. Let's start off there. Somebody gets hurt in a car accident.
Sure.
Legitimately hurt.
Sure.
Right? Because I've always said, and we've had serious conversations about this, where I think there's a lot of folks out there that are just looking for a buck.
Right.
There's a lot of folks out there that do get hurt.
Absolutely.
People do stupid things, they do bad things, and people get hurt and can't work for the rest of their life. I'm hurt. What do I do? When do I call the attorney, by the way?
Yeah, you know, you don't call the attorney from the ambulance. You don't call your attorney from the emergency room. You know, we want our clients, the first thing we want is for them to get better.
Yeah.
You know, get healthy. And you know what? People call me up a few days after an accident and they're banged up and they're sore and they ask me about it. Do I have a case? I don't know. I hope not, because if you have a case, that means you've been significantly injured or you're going to be permanently injured.
Sure.
But let's come on in, have a consultation. So we sit down with people, we talk to them, we figure out exactly what happened, whose fault it was. You know, again, it has to be somebody else's fault before you can collect something from the insurance company. But figure out what happened in the motor vehicle accident, figure out what the injuries look like. In New York, you have to have what we call a serious injury before you can make a claim for against another person, against an offending driver.
Yeah.
So,
well, so let me ask you this. I hear no fault insurance all
Right.
the time. Nobody's at fault. What does that mean?
Right. No fault has nothing to do with the liability portion of the accident. No fault is your insurance. It's the insurance that you carry to cover you. It pays your medical bills. It'll pay you lost wages up to $2,000 a month. You can buy a little bit additional if you want, and you should. You know, it's important to have good no-fault insurance. So no fault is not a fault-based insurance. It says regardless, even if you're 100% at fault, your medical bills are going to get paid. You'll get some lost wages paid, $2,000, $4,000. You can buy in increments like that. That's the no-fault piece of it. The liability piece of it is if you've been injured, and if you have a serious injury, and it's defined, it's a complicated way to define it. It's a convoluted system, but if you've been injured seriously, then you can make a claim for pain and suffering. And so what we do is we tell people, come on in, sit down, we'll go through it, we'll look at your injuries, we'll look at what happened. And you know, sometimes people don't recognize right away. I had a guy a really nice guy who had a motor vehicle accident, didn't seem like he was hurt significantly. 3 or 4 days later, his right leg was so numb he couldn't walk. He had a foot drop. He ended up going on to have surgery 10 days after the motor vehicle accident. If he had called me the day after the motor vehicle accident, I probably would have told him, gee, I don't know if you have a case or not. But you know, now this guy's gone on to have a very significant back surgery and,
Sure.
and probably has a very significant legitimate claim.
Yeah, absolutely. People need you throughout the week, by the way. You just throw your number out there for folks?
Sure. The office number is 856-3500. Email is always good. It's rgrimm@McGavran, MAGAVERN.com.
Yeah, we'll get to estate planning in the next segment here. You know, I think sometimes people are intimidated to sit down with an attorney.
You shouldn't be, and that's, I mean, I know it's easy to say, I suppose, but
Sure.
but really it doesn't cost anything. We don't charge for an initial consultation on a motor vehicle accident case. We don't take a fee until we get a recovery or unless we get a recovery. And you know what? There's a lot of times people come in, they wondering if they have a case, they want some time. We're happy to give them the time, and I'm just as happy to close a file when someone calls me up and says, you know what? I've made a terrific recovery. I'm back to the baseline. Everything's good. Good for you. We're happy for you.
We got about a minute left. You also do some corporate work, and you've helped some of our clients.
Right.
I've always said, you know, we think about family divorces, right? 50% of marriages end up in divorce. Well, I don't even know what that statistic is when it comes to businesses, but it's got to be north of 80%.
Yeah, it does. You know, at some point, you know, partners who come in on day one and get along fantastically or get along famously, over the course of time, things happen, you know, for whatever, any one of a million reasons. So we tell people, have good planning up front. Have a good operating agreement if you're an LLC. Have a good shareholder agreement if you're a corporation. Plan for the inevitable. Hopefully it's not inevitable, but hopefully plan for what we expect is ultimately going to happen. And when it does happen, then you've got everything kind of set in place. buyouts, that kind of stuff, how you're going to fund it. So.
Yep. All right, we got to take a quick break here. We'll come back to talk about estate planning. Welcome back to Money Talks, the place where money meets politics. Mike Lomas in studio with us, Alan Spencer, Richie Grimm. Thank you so much. I said Alan Grimm. I'm sorry, you're not a Grimm anymore. You are a Grimm, but a...
I use both, Grimm, Spencer. Yeah. You don't want to complicate it.
I've known you for a lot of years. So you do the estate planning in the firm.
I do.
We talked a little bit about business planning and personal injury.
Sure.
Estate planning is a big deal. Now, you are in our office all the time.
I am.
And that's important because, we can do a great job of building wealth for somebody, but if they don't protect the wealth, if they don't make some people, by the way, are worried about inheritance maximization. How do I transfer the most amount of money to my relatives? And it's a big deal.
It is. It's really important if you have a financial advisor, to have your estate planning attorney talk and deal with your financial advisor, because that way everybody is on the same page. Beneficiary designations are set up properly that go along with the estate plan.
Yeah.
So those sorts of things are important.
Yeah.
The other things that sort of go along, last segment we talked about business divorces and things like that. Your estate plan matters if you own a business.
Sure, big time.
Sure.
Big time.
We have issues sometimes where if you don't have a great shareholder agreement or operating agreement and you pass away, or you don't have a proper buy-sell or something like that, those can be issues. So, everything sort of goes hand in hand.
You know what I see too, unfortunately, is a lot of folks are afraid to embrace this. They're so afraid to talk about death. I mean, nobody wants to talk about that, but unfortunately or fortunately, it's going to happen to all of us at some point.
Right.
And I always say, take the bull by the horns. I mean, let's get it done. Let's get your health care proxy place, your wills, and a lot of that stuff is not real expensive to do.
It's not expensive. It's not difficult. It's well worth it too. The other thing that I find that's problematic too is sometimes, particularly an older generation, they don't want to tell you what they have.
Yeah.
They won't lay it out all on the table.
Yeah.
And if the financial advisor is involved, that helps sort of the transition. It helps people sort of talk about their assets a little bit.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, I see people with $20,000 and I see people with $20 million, and it doesn't matter to me. I'm just trying to get it in the right place and in the right sort of vehicle.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's two different trains of thoughts. There are two, I say two different lanes. One is the folks that are worried about protecting the money from a nursing home,
Sure.
and a lot of times it's not so much protecting them from a nursing home. I'm worried about my wife. I'm worried that if I went into a skilled care facility, there's not going to be enough resources left over for her. Women typically live longer than men. Sometimes you have somebody, the husband goes into the nursing home at 75 or 80, and she's going to be here for another 20 years and needs the money.
Sure.
The second part of it, though, and you've helped a lot of our clients out with this, is inheritance maximization. Hey, I have these dollars, and I'm just never going to use them all.
Right.
I want to leave some money to the next generation, but I want to leave more money to my kids and my grandkids.
Right. And we have vehicles that can do all sorts of things, insurance trusts and things like that, where maybe, mom and dad pay the premium and have a second to die policy, and we want it to pay into this trust so it pays out over a course of years after we die, or something, instead of in one lump sum.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. And that way it's guaranteed that it's, invested by a trustee, and it'll make some money after they pass away as well.
Yeah.
So there are certainly all sorts of vehicles that we can sort of help people plan to maximize, their money, maybe control it a little bit depending on the kids. Sometimes the kids are perfectly well off and they want to provide for grandchildren, or tax consequences for gifts for education or healthcare, or things like that we can certainly advise.
Got about a minute left, but also helping, I call it controlling from the grave, right? I mean, sometimes the kids aren't that good.
That's right.
Maybe they're great kids, but they're not good with money.
Right.
Maybe the grandkids are good kids, but they're not good with money.
Sure.
Plan that stuff out before.
Absolutely.
You can do that.
Absolutely, we can do that. Sometimes if you have, I tell people a lot, if you have perfectly responsible children, give it to them. You don't want to control it too much, but there are circumstances where it's warranted.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks.
McGavran and Grimm, by the way. Go to their website. If you need us throughout the week, folks, 633-1515. If you think like us, we have a ton of fun with this show. If you think like us, use this as a resource. Again, Monday through Friday, 6631 Main Street. On behalf of Mike Lomas, I will see you next week here on WGRZ Money Talks. This is a place where money meets politics. God bless you. Take care. Have a great week.